The desert has a way of keeping its secrets beneath the endless waves of golden sand, where the sun scorches the earth and time itself seems to stand still. Something stirs, something that shouldn't be there. Picture this, a team of explorers, their boots sinking into the dunes as they trek deeper into the heart of the Sahara. The air is thick with silence, broken only by the occasional whisper of wind. Then, without warning, a sound cuts through the emptiness, a low, metallic hum, vibrating through the ground like the pulse of some ancient, slumbering beast. It's not natural, it's not human, and it's coming from beneath their feet. This isn't just another archaeological find. This is a machine, a colossal, unfathomable structure buried for who knows how long, its origins lost to time. The sheer scale of it defies logic. Who built it? How did it end up here, hidden beneath miles of shifting sand? And most chilling of all, what was its purpose? The Sahara guards its mysteries fiercely, but this is different. This isn't a relic of some forgotten civilization. This is something older, something darker. Something that shouldn't exist. As we peel back the layers of this enigma, we're not just uncovering an artifact. We're stepping into a story that rewrites history itself. The clues are scattered like fragments of a nightmare, whispers of ancient texts, fragments of unidentifiable metal, and the eerie, persistent hum that seems to call out from the depths. This is the forbidden Eldritch engine, a marvel of impossible engineering, a machine that pulses with a life of its own. And as we venture deeper into its secrets, one question lingers in the air, heavy with dread. What happens when we finally wake it up? Stick around, because what you're about to witness isn't just history, it's a descent into the unknown. The Sahara conceals more than just sand and scorching heat. It holds mysteries that science still struggles to explain. Satellite scans have captured bizarre seismic pulses emanating from deep below the dunes, rhythmic vibrations that don't match any known geological activity. Even stranger are the magnetic distortions, twisting compass readings across vast stretches of desert as if something massive and metallic lies buried beneath. One anomaly stands above the rest, the Eye of Africa, a colossal circular formation so precise it looks almost manufactured. From space, it resembles a gargantuan bullseye, its concentric rings spanning nearly 30 miles. Geologists have long debated its origins, some claiming it's the remnants of an ancient volcano, others insisting no natural process could create such perfect symmetry. But what if the truth is far more unsettling? Recent underground scans reveal a labyrinth of geometric chambers beneath the eye, their walls too smooth, their angles too precise to be the work of erosion or chance. The deeper the scans go, the more the data defies logic, tunnels that spiral downward in unnatural patterns, vast hollow spaces aligned with celestial coordinates, and at the very center, a structure unlike anything found in nature. It pulses with energy, emitting low-frequency waves that resonate like a heartbeat. Some researchers whisper of a machine, a titanic device buried not by time but by design. Ancient texts speak of a gateway hidden in the desert, built by those who walked the earth before recorded history. Could the Eye of Africa be more than a geological oddity? Could it be the entrance to the Eldritch engine itself? The scans paint a chilling picture, layers of metallic alloy fused seamlessly with the bedrock, as if the machine grew roots into the earth. Its design echoes no known civilization, no bolts, no welds, just seamless curves that look almost organic. And then there's the sound. Explorers who have ventured near the eye report hearing it, a deep, droning hum that vibrates through their bones as if the desert itself is breathing. Whatever lies beneath the Sahara, it wasn't meant to be found. But now that we've glimpsed its shadow, one thing is certain. The sands have been hiding something, not just forgotten but forbidden. The desert whispers its oldest secrets through the voices of those who have lived in its shadow for millennia. Among the Tuareg and Berber tribes, stories passed down through generations, not just of kings and wars, but of something far stranger. They speak of the metal djinn, towering beings who shaped the earth itself, forging vast halls beneath the sands with tools that hummed like thunder. These weren't spirits of fire or air, but something else entirely, entities who worked in gleaming alloys, leaving behind tunnels that spiral into the darkness like the coils of a serpent. One particularly vivid legend describes a council of these beings gathering in a cavern lit by no torch, their faces obscured by masks that reflected the stars. They moved machinery into place with gestures, and the earth obeyed, splitting open to swallow entire cities. The descriptions align eerily with modern discoveries: the smooth-walled chambers beneath the Sahara, the unnatural precision of the Eye of Africa's rings. Even the cave paintings tell a story modern eyes might misinterpret. In one ancient depiction, discovered in a hidden alcove of the Tassili Anaja Mountains, stick-like figures bow before a towering, many-armed shape, its limbs ending in what could be gears or blades. The pigment has faded, but the message is clear: something was worshipped here, something that wasn't human. Ancient astronaut theorists point to these tales as evidence of visitation, advanced beings mistaken for gods or spirits. But the Tuareg legends carry a warning absent from most theories. The metal djinn didn't just build, they buried. They sealed their creations deliberately, hiding them behind layers of rock and ritual. One elder's account describes a song that put the machines to sleep, a melody so potent it silenced their humming for centuries. Today, researchers record those SAME Chinese letter vibrations pulsing beneath the dunes, a rhythm that matches no known natural frequency. Could these oral traditions hold the key to understanding the Eldritch engine? The parallels are too striking to ignore: the descriptions of glowing metal that never rusts, the warnings of chambers where the air itself cuts like knives. Even the name djinn might be a placeholder for something far older, a memory distorted by time. What's chilling isn't just the possibility that these stories are true, but that they might have been meant to keep us away. The tribes say the metal djinn left one final command etched into the rock: do not wake the sleeper beneath the sand. Yet here we stand, tools in hand, listening to the hum grow louder with each passing day. Long before satellites mapped the Sahara's hidden anomalies, the desert's secrets called to those bold enough to seek them. Among the first outsiders to stumble upon the truth was Colonel Percy Fawcett, a man whose name would become synonymous with vanished explorers. In 1887, deep in the Algerian desert, Fawcett's team made a discovery that defied all logic. His journal, its pages brittle with age, describes stumbling upon a sunken pit lined with blackened ribs of metal, each larger than a railway sleeper, fused together as if by tremendous heat. But what chilled him most wasn't the scale, it was the noise. At dawn, when the desert cooled, the structure emitted what he called a devil's chorus, a metallic groaning that sent his camels into panicked flight. Fawcett wasn't alone. German geologist Heinrich Klatt recorded similar findings in 1892 near the Ahaga Mountains. His sketches, now faded but still haunting, show massive toothed wheels half buried in the dunes, their teeth sharp as scythes. Klatt swore they were still warm to the touch, though the surrounding sand was cool. He attempted to extract a sample, only to watch in horror as his chisel disintegrated upon contact, the metal dissolving into black smoke that left his hands blistered for weeks. Both men shipped fragments home for study, yet every specimen vanished en route, lost in shipwrecks, warehouse fires, or simply disappearing from locked cases. The most compelling account comes from French engineer Émile Dupré, who in 1904 led a doomed expedition to survey the Ténéré region. His final letter to the Paris Geographical Society describes finding a circular depression where compasses spun wildly and pocket watches ran backward. At its center stood a towering obelisk of unidentifiable alloy, its surface etched with symbols that pulsed faintly blue at night. Dupré's team attempted to document the markings, but their cameras produced only fogged plates, their sketches smearing inexplicably whenever viewed in daylight. The last surviving member was found 3 months later, delirious and mumbling about the furnace below, his skin marked with peculiar geometric burns. These weren't isolated incidents. Dozens of Victorian-era journals reference the phenomenon, always in whispers, always with fear. The British Museum's restricted archives contain a water-stained map from 1879 marked with a single phrase, "Here be the devil's anvil." What ties these accounts together isn't just the bizarre technology they describe, but the pattern of suppression. Official reports were altered, samples confiscated, witnesses discredited. Someone or something didn't want the world to know what lay beneath the sand. And as modern researchers peel back the layers of history, one unsettling pattern emerges. Every expedition that got too close met with silence. Their gear was found intact, their journals ended mid-sentence, their final entries all contained the same 3 words scrawled in desperate haste: "It's waking up." H.P. Lovecraft claimed his nightmares birthed his stories, but what if some horrors crept in from reality? Decades before he penned At the Mountains of Madness, colonial explorers whispered of metallic ruins in the Sahara, reports that eerily mirror his fictional Elder Things and their cyclopean machines. Take Lieutenant René Duverger's 1898 dispatch, buried in French military archives until 2012. His description of a city of black angles where the air vibrates with an ungodly drone could have been lifted straight from Lovecraft's Antarctica. Both accounts mention towering structures with non-Euclidean geometry, walls that twist in ways stone shouldn't, and most damning, the sound. Duverger's men reported a chorus of gears beneath the dunes, while Lovecraft's explorers hear machinery humming inside the mountains, a noise that suggests motion where none should exist. The parallels grow stranger when examining Lovecraft's personal letters. In 1926, he corresponded with a British anthropologist who'd served in Egypt, a man privy to suppressed excavation records. One passage stands out: "You'd laugh at what our boys found near Siwa, tunnels too smooth, too old, with seams that glow when the moon hits just so." Lovecraft's response: a feverish draft of mountains within weeks, featuring identical glowing seams in the ruins. Even the timing fits. Colonial reports peaked in the 1880s through 1910s, just as Lovecraft was devouring obscure scientific journals. His private library included 4 now redacted texts on Saharan geology, all referencing anomalous metallic strata, but the smoking gun lies in the warnings. Both Lovecraft's fictional Miskatonic crew and real-life expeditions received the same ominous advice from locals: don't dig too deep. In 1902, a Tuareg guide named Moussa Kel Assar refused to lead Captain Henry Bertrand's team beyond a certain dune, insisting the ground there ate voices. Lovecraft's Danforth character experiences nearly identical terror when his companion's shouts vanish mid-air near the mountains. Coincidence, perhaps? Yet declassified files reveal Bertrand's team later found a cavern where their shadows moved independently of light sources, a detail Lovecraft replicates with chilling precision when describing the Elder Things lair. Critics argue these echoes prove nothing, that horror writers naturally borrow from explorers' tales. But consider this: Lovecraft's original draft placed his monstrous city beneath the Sahara, not Antarctica. His publisher demanded the change, calling a desert setting too plausible. The manuscript's margin notes reveal his frustration. Fine, but the Siwa accounts are real. Whether through leaked documents or half-remembered campfire tales, the Sahara's buried secrets seem to have slithered into fiction. And if Lovecraft's horrors were closer to truth than even he suspected, what does that make the hum still rising from the dunes today? In the late 1930s, as war loomed over Europe, the Nazi regime chased more than just territorial conquest. They hunted ancient power. Heinrich Himmler, obsessed with occult relics, believed the Sahara hid a weapon unlike any other. His secretive Onanab unit, a twisted blend of archaeologists and mystics, scoured the globe for proof of Aryan supremacy. But one target stood above the rest, the Eldritch engine. Declassified documents reveal their 1938 expedition to Algeria wasn't just another dig, it was a desperate grab for what they called the Thule power source, a force they claimed could rewrite reality itself. The team's leader, SS officer Ludwig Ziegler, left behind chilling field notes, his early entries brim with confidence, describing vibrations detected through crude seismic equipment, a hum that matched Tuareg legends of the metal djinn. Then the tone shifts. On day 17, after drilling near the coordinates of the Eye of Africa, Ziegler reports a black resonance seeping from the borehole, a thick, tar-like substance that dissolved steel drill bits within minutes. His handwriting grows erratic, detailing how the substance moved against gravity, slithering up equipment like sentient oil. By day 23, his entries devolve into fragments. The sand remembers, the engine dreams, and finally, a single line scrawled in what forensics later confirmed was blood. It sings through our bones. What happened next reads like a horror novel. Camp guards reported seeing team members huddled around the drill site at night, unmoving, their shadows stretching impossibly long under the moonlight. When morning came, 3 scientists were missing. The only trace, their boots filled to the brim with the same black substance from the drill. The Onana buried the incident, labeling it equipment failure, but Luftwaffe aerial photos from 1942 tell a different story. The images show a perfect circle of blasted sand where the dig occurred, the dunes around it warped into spirals, as if something beneath had twisted the landscape in protest. Himmler never admitted defeat. Even as the war turned against Germany, he funneled resources into a follow-up expedition, codenamed Operation Sundial. The mission never launched. Allied forces intercepted coded messages hinting at a new discovery near the Teibste Mountains, a cavern where the walls breathe. But with Berlin in ruins, the files vanished into Soviet and American intelligence archives, their contents still classified. One detail survived, a handwritten memo from Himmler to Hitler, boasting that the Thule power source could burn the sky clean. Whether he truly believed it or had succumbed to the same madness that consumed his men, we may never know. But the Sahara keeps its receipts. To this day, the coordinates of that 1938 dig remain a dead zone. No satellite signals penetrate, no drones return intact. Just the hum growing louder with each passing decade. The Cold War wasn't just a battle of ideologies, it was a frantic race to uncover secrets buried deeper than any nuclear silo. In 1963, as America's Corona spy satellites crisscrossed the skies, their lenses captured something that shouldn't have existed. A metallic anomaly the size of Manhattan, buried beneath 2 miles of Saharan sand. Code-named Iron Echo in classified briefings, the structure defied every geological rule. Sand doesn't layer that way. Metal doesn't resonate at frequencies that distort radar. And yet, there it was pulsing on thermal scans like a slow, steady heartbeat. The Pentagon's reaction was immediate and extreme. Satellite orbits were adjusted, focusing every pass over the anomaly. Analysts pored over the grainy black and white images, noting the sheer symmetry of the thing, a series of concentric rings radiating from a central spire, like a monstrous gear frozen mid-rotation. What stunned them most wasn't just its size, but its depth. Natural deposits don't sink that far. This was placed, buried, hidden. Declassified memos from 1965 reveal frantic debates about whether to share the discovery with NATO or to erase it entirely. One admiral scrawled in the margins of a report, "If this is Soviet, we're already behind. If it's not Soviet, God help us." Meanwhile, behind the Iron Curtain, the Kremlin was chasing its own whispers. KGB files smuggled out after the Soviet Union's collapse detail an operation called Project Molniya, a top-secret mission to drill near the Algerian-Malian border. Their equipment, modified oil rigs hardened against electromagnetic pulses no natural deposit could produce. Eyewitness accounts from defectors describe teams in hazmat suits lowering probes into boreholes, only to have their cables snap cleanly as if cut from below. The last transmission from Site 7, recovered from a melted tape recorder, consists of 3 words howled in Russian. It's eating light. The most chilling clue lies in the gaps. Both superpowers abruptly abandoned their Saharan operations within months of each other. No explanations, no follow-ups. CIA archives contain a single, heavily redacted photo from 1967. A Soviet convoy swallowed by a sandstorm, their trucks ringed around a pit. The caption reads only Terminal Disposal Protocol. To this day, the Iron Echo remains untouched, its hum occasionally bleeding into seismic monitors. Scientists dismiss it as tectonic resonance, but the Bedouin traders who skirt the area tell a different story. They say the dunes there sometimes sing a low, metallic wail that freezes camels in their tracks. And if you listen too long, the sand starts to vibrate, not like an earthquake, like something waking up. In the summer of 1991, the Sahara did something impossible. Seismographs from Algiers to Timbuktu spiked off the charts, recording a quake that defied every geological rule. It wasn't the magnitude that shocked scientists, it was the shape. Earthquakes ripple outward like stones tossed in a pond, but this event pulsed in perfect concentric rings, as if something beneath the sand had breathed. Bedouin traders 200 miles apart reported the same nightmare, dunes heaving like ocean waves, their crests collapsing inward toward an unseen epicenter. Then came the sound, a metallic shriek so piercing it sent desert foxes fleeing into the night. By the time researchers reached the site, the sands had already begun to settle. But not before revealing a glimpse of what lay below. Satellite imagery captured in the quake's aftermath showed a jagged tear in the desert floor, a gash nearly half a mile long, its edges too straight to be natural. French geologist Dr. Claire Lefebvre, one of the first on scene, described the pit as a wound in the earth. Her team's instruments went haywire the moment they approached. Magnetometers spun wildly, ground-penetrating radar returning echoes of a vast, hollow space below. Most disturbing were the aftershocks. Instead of fading like normal seismic activity, they continued in precise 67-second intervals for 9 days, each pulse identical in waveform, as if triggered by a machine resetting itself. Local guides refused to descend into the fissure, whispering that the sand there was hungry, but Lefebvre's team pressed on, lowering a camera into the abyss. The footage, now sealed in a military archive, allegedly shows walls of fused black metal, etched with spiraling grooves that glow faintly under infrared. The video cuts off abruptly after 93 seconds, the last frame filled with what Lefebvre's field notes call a liquid shadow movement. Within hours, a sandstorm of unprecedented fury rolled in, burying the fissure by dawn. When the storm cleared, the dunes looked undisturbed except for one detail. The sand within a 3-mile radius of the site had darkened, grains fused together like glass. Decades later, the event remains classified as an atypical seismic anomaly in official reports, but those who were there know better. Dr. Lefebvre, interviewed in 2012, dropped a bombshell the scientific community still debates. The aftershock patterns she revealed matched exactly with vibrations recorded by Nazi seismographs in 1938. Not similar, not close. Identical down to the millisecond. That's not how geology works. Rocks don't remember, machines do. The sands shift, the winds erase, but technology now lets us peer through the veil. In 2018, a team deploying advanced lidar scanners made a discovery that rewrote the Sahara's deepest secrets. What they mapped beneath the dunes wasn't just ruins or fossils, but a sprawling 12-mile-wide structure pulsing with eerie precision. The renderings look like something ripped from a fever dream, a hexagonal labyrinth of interlocking gears, chambers, and passageways, all carved from a metal that defies spectral analysis. But the real shock wasn't its size or shape. It was the movement. Deep within the scan data, analysts spotted anomalies. Entire sections of the complex subtly shifting position between passes, as if the structure were reconfiguring itself. One tunnel running along the northern edge appeared to telescope inward overnight, vanishing into a newly formed cavity. Another segment, resembling a colossal piston, had descended nearly 30 feet between scans without disturbing the sand above it. The implications are staggering. This isn't a dead relic, it's operational, and its design, nothing in human history comes close. The angles are all wrong, junctions meeting at 79-degree turns where right angles should be. The central shaft spirals downward in a triple helix pattern found nowhere in nature. Even the material behaves unnaturally, appearing denser at its edges than its core, a physical impossibility for any known alloy. Archaeologists are baffled, but engineers are terrified. The lidar reveals mechanisms with no discernible power source, yet they move with purpose. One chamber contains what looks like a turbine, but its blades are fixed in place, rotating only in infrared scans as if spinning in another dimension. Another section pulses with rhythmic heat signatures, cycling every 12 hours like a heartbeat. The most chilling detail: the complex's layout mirrors no known human architecture, but it does match something else: the neural pathways of an octopus's brain. Organic and mechanical fused into one, recent attempts to correlate the structure with ancient texts have yielded disturbing parallels. A previously dismissed Babylonian tablet describes the black hive built by those who came before the flood, its walls alive with turning shadows. Even more unsettling are reports from oil surveyors in the 1970s who accidentally drilled near the site. Their cores brought up twisted metal fragments etched with symbols matching those in the lidar scans, except the fragments regrew in storage, slowly reforming into jagged geometric shapes. The Sahara has always guarded its mysteries, but this discovery changes everything. We're not looking at a forgotten city or a lost temple. We're staring at the blueprints of something alive. Something that watches back. Every scan since 2018 shows the same impossible progression: the structure expanding, its movements growing more deliberate, its heat signatures intensifying. Whatever sleeps beneath the desert isn't just waking up, it's getting ready. Dr. Esteban Velaz's colleagues called him brilliant until they called him mad. The Spanish archaeologist spent 27 years mapping Saharan trade routes before stumbling upon proof that would shatter his career. In 2009, while excavating a Roman-era outpost near the Tunisian border, his team uncovered something impossible: a slab of black metal buried beneath 3rd century pottery. At first glance, it appeared to be volcanic glass. Then the sunlight hit it at noon, revealing etchings that made Velaz's hands tremble. Not Latin, not Phoenician. Symbols that curved like no human script, their lines intersecting at angles that hurt the eyes to follow. He documented everything. Smuggled photographs show the slab's surface crawling with hieroglyphs that seem to rearrange themselves under different lighting. One image taken at moonrise captures symbols glowing faintly blue, a phenomenon the camera couldn't replicate the next night. Velaz's field notes, later confiscated by university officials, describe a pattern repeating every 72 marks, a spiral resembling the Fibonacci sequence but inverted as if counting down. His most controversial claim: the etchings weren't just writing, they were equations, complex astronomical calculations referencing star positions that wouldn't align for another 6,000 years. The academic backlash was immediate. Colleagues dismissed the slab as a hoax, pointing to obvious tool marks, though no one could explain how ancient forgers mimicked metallurgical properties unseen outside a lab. Then came the incident at the Cairo Symposium. During his keynote, Velaz played a recording of the slab reacting to ultraviolet light. The audio crackled with a rhythmic clicking, speeding up as the light intensified. Halfway through, every digital device in the auditorium failed simultaneously. Phones rebooted, projectors died, and in the chaos, someone stole the slab. Velez spent his final years a pariah, scribbling theories in a rented Casablanca flat. His last surviving notebook, recovered from a trash bin by a street vendor, contained sketches of the Sahara's lidar scans overlaid with his hieroglyphs. The match is unnerving. The same spiral pattern appears exactly where the underground structure's central shaft plunges deepest. One smudged page bears a frantic annotation, "Not a tomb." Not a temple, a clock, and the alarm is set for. The sentence ends mid-thought, the paper torn. What makes Velez's research so chilling isn't just the symbols themselves, but where they've been found since. In 2017, oil surveyors in Kazakhstan uncovered a similar metallic fragment with identical etchings buried in strata dating back 280 million years. Then in 2021, a diver off the Yucatan coast filmed what appears to be the same spiral carved into a submerged megalith. If Velez was right, the Sahara's engine isn't alone. Its makers left instructions scattered across the globe like breadcrumbs, and if the growing hum beneath the dunes is any indication, someone or something is finally reading them. The official report called it logistical failure. The UN stamped it classified, but the whispers between surviving team members tell a different story, one of a dig that never should have happened. In the autumn of 2012, a joint expedition of UNESCO archaeologists and UN peacekeepers set up camp near the Eye of Africa, armed with ground-penetrating radar and a mandate to assess cultural heritage risks. Their real mission: to investigate the metallic hum that had started interfering with global seismic monitors. They weren't just looking for history. They were looking for a way in. Dr. Anika Patel's field log captures the moment they found it. On October 9th, after weeks of scanning, their drills struck something that wasn't rock. The video feed shows her brushing sand from a smooth, concave surface, not stone, not metal, but something in between, cold enough to fog the camera lens. Then the audio cuts to static. When it clears, Patel's voice is giddy, disbelieving. "It's a door," she says, "and it's unlocked." What happened next exists only in fragments, grainy helmet cam footage, and broken radio transmissions. The first team to descend included 6 researchers and 2 soldiers. Their last clear transmission came 90 minutes in. Chamber confirmed. Walls are breathing. No, not breathing, rippling. Then the screams start, not the kind from fear, the kind from pain. One soldier's camera captures a shadow detaching from the wall, liquid and deliberate, curling around his ankle like smoke. His final words are muffled, desperate. "It's in my," before the feed dissolves into pixelated chaos. The surface team's reaction was immediate panic. Commander Elias Riggs ordered the shaft sealed, but the machinery refused to obey. The drill rigs, supposedly powered down, roared back to life at full torque, twisting their own steel cables into nooses. Then the radio crackled with a voice no one recognized, a whisper that didn't match any team member's cadence. "You shouldn't have knocked," it said. By dawn, the camp was a graveyard. Tents stood empty, belongings abandoned mid-meal. Only one survivor was found, a young geologist named Lena Farhad, curled in a supply locker with her hands clamped over her ears. Her debriefing transcript, leaked years later, describes the final moments with chilling clarity. The sand rose up, not like a storm, like hands. It pulled them under, one by one. And the whole time, the machinery kept humming, like it was laughing. UN investigators recovered a single hard drive from the site. The files were corrupted beyond recovery except for one audio clip, timestamped 3:17 a.m. The recording lasts 11 seconds. In it, something massive groans underground, followed by a wet, rhythmic sound no one can identify. A linguist hired by the UN swears the noise has structure. That it's speech, that whatever's beneath the Sahara isn't just awake, it's talking. Ancient texts scattered across the globe tell eerily similar stories, machines of unimaginable power, crafted by gods or beings long forgotten. The Sahara's Eldritch engine isn't an anomaly, it's part of a pattern, a thread woven through humanity's oldest myths. Take the Hindu Vimanas, celestial chariots described in the Mahabharata with terrifying precision. These weren't metaphors. The texts detail their construction: hull plates fused without seams, propulsion systems humming like 1,000 bees, weapons that could reduce cities to glass. One passage even warns of a rogue Vimana buried deep underground, its song capable of driving men mad. Sound familiar? Then there are the Sumerian crystalline tablets said to contain the blueprints of creation itself. Survivors of lost libraries describe them as living things pulsating with energy, their surfaces shifting to reveal deeper secrets to those deemed worthy. The parallels are uncanny. Just like the metallic slab doctor, Vela's unearthed, the allegedly responded to light and sound, their etchings rewriting themselves based on the viewer's intent. Even their purpose aligns. The weren't just records, they were controls, devices to steer the world. A Mesopotamian cylinder seal, now in the British Museum, shows a being handing a to a priest, except the being has too many joints in its fingers, and the tablet resembles the hexagonal patterns from the Sahara lidar scans. But the most chilling parallel lies in Norse myth. Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, wasn't just a weapon. The prose Edda describes it as a tool that shaped realms, its strikes ringing with a sound that made mountains remember their birth. Legend claims it was forged in the heart of a dying star, its metal never cooling, its weight shifting to suit its wielder. Now compare that to the reports from Nazi excavators, their drill bits dissolving against a substance that defied all known metallurgy, a material that seemed alive. Even the Norse warned of Mjolnir's dormant state, buried deep until Ragnarok's call. The connections don't stop there. The Dogon people of Mali speak of the Namo, amphibious beings who descended in a vessel that split the earth, leaving behind caverns of singing metal. Aboriginal Australian songlines reference the rainbow serpent's bones, massive, rib-like structures deep underground that hum during celestial alignments. And let's not forget the Mayan Pakal sarcophagus, its lid depicting a figure seated inside what looks unnervingly like a cockpit, surrounded by the same spiral glyphs found in the Sahara. What binds these stories together isn't just shared themes of advanced technology, it's the fear. Every culture that preserved these legends also preserved a warning. The Hindu sages sealed away the Vimana manuals, the Sumerians hid them in labyrinthine vaults, and the Norse swore Mjolnir would sleep until the world's end. Now, as the hum beneath the Sahara grows louder, one has to wonder, were these myths ever myths at all, or were they instructions passed down not to guide us but to keep us away? Because if the engine beneath the sand is what remains of these scattered fragments, then we're not just dealing with a relic, we're staring at the last piece of a puzzle no one was meant to solve. The Pentagon doesn't deal in fairy tales, but some classified projects flirt dangerously close. In 2008, a military transport plane touched down at a secure Nevada facility, carrying something that defied standard munitions protocols. A 12-foot-long cylinder of brushed titanium, its surface etched with the same spiraling glyphs found in the Sahara. Codenamed the Titanium Scroll, this artifact wasn't just studied, it was interrogated. Black-budget reports leaked by an anonymous aerospace engineer describe a chamber deep inside Area 51 where teams of linguists, physicists, and even neurologists took shifts, exposing the scroll to everything from particle beams to ancient mantras. The goal, to crack what analysts believed were activation sequences buried in its glyphs. The most chilling experiments involved sound. High-frequency recordings from the sessions reveal the scroll responding, vibrating in harmonic resonance when subjected to specific tonal patterns, its etchings fluorescing under ultraviolet light in rhythmic pulses. One technician's notes, hastily redacted but not fully obscured, mention a cascade effect after exposing the scroll to a 714 Hz frequency, the same range as the hum beneath the Sahara. For exactly 37 seconds, the metal became translucent, revealing an inner latticework of moving parts before sealing shut again. the technician's final entry reads, "It's not a scroll. It's a key and it's looking for its lock." Declassified schematics show the extent of the desperation. Project Looking Glass, a 2011 initiative, attempted to reverse engineer the scroll's material. The results read like a horror script: lab-grown replicas dissolved upon contact with saline solution mimicking the properties of human sweat. Another batch, when subjected to magnetic fields, formed temporary geometric shapes matching the lidar scans from beneath the Sahara. The Pentagon's own physicists admitted in closed-door briefings that the alloy's atomic structure appeared designed, its lattice rearranging in response to external stimuli like a living thing adapting to its environment. But the real bombshell came from an unlikely source, a retired Air Force cryptographer who broke silence in 2019. His testimony, buried in an obscure tech forum until journalists dug it up, describes a night when the scroll woke up. Security footage from July 3, 2012, the same week as the UN's doomed Sahara expedition, shows the artifact emitting a low-frequency pulse that knocked out power across 3 test facilities. When emergency lights flickered on, the scroll had unfurled, its panels extending into a 5-pointed star, each tip glowing with symbols later identified as celestial coordinates. The cryptographer's voice shakes in the interview. Those weren't just codes, they were countdowns, and whatever they were pointing at, it's not in our solar system. Now connect the dots. The scroll's star pattern matches the hexagonal lidar scans from the Sahara. Its activation frequency mirrors the desert's hum. And its sudden activity coincided perfectly with the UN team's breach attempt. Coincidence doesn't cover it. This is a dialogue, one side reaching out, the other answering. The question isn't whether the Pentagon understood what they had. It's whether they realized too late that the scroll wasn't just a tool to be mastered. It was a beacon, and somewhere beneath the dunes, something heard its call. Every machine has a purpose, even one buried for millennia. But when faced with the Eldritch engine beneath the Sahara, humanity's brightest minds fracture into warring theories. The first camp, spearheaded by astrophysicist Dr. Ilyana Kostova, argues the structure isn't terrestrial at all. Its hexagonal chambers and triple helix shafts mirror theoretical models of interstellar gates, devices designed to fold space-time. Computer simulations based on lidar scans reveal a chilling possibility. When exposed to specific resonant frequencies, the engine's central spire could generate a gravitational vortex strong enough to tear a hole in reality. Kostova's team points to the Babylonian Black Hive texts, which describe a door that drinks the sky, and the Dogon legends of the Nommo arriving through a ripple in the air. Even the scroll's celestial coordinates align with a region near the Pleiades where telescopes have detected anomalous energy fluctuations, the terrifying implication. We might be sitting on a cosmic ignition switch, its countdown ticking toward an alignment modern astronomy can't yet predict. Then there are those who hear the word engine and think only of destruction. Defense analysts at the RAND Corporation ran war game scenarios using the structure's seismic signatures. Their findings read like an apocalypse script. When modeled at full activation, the machine's energy output could theoretically pulse along tectonic fault lines, not just triggering earthquakes but steering them. CGI renderings show the Arabian and African plates shearing apart like wet paper, the Mediterranean draining into a newborn rift valley. Historical records offer grim support. The 1991 Sahara quake's perfectly circular shockwaves match the RAND model's beta phase ignition. Even the Nazis suspected its weapon potential. Himmler's memos obsess over burning the sky clean, a phrase that takes on new horror when cross-referenced with Hindu texts describing Vimana wings that scorch the heavens black. But the third theory is perhaps the most unsettling. Dr. Yusuf al-Mansouri, a linguist specializing in dead languages, believes the engine's purpose transcends human concepts like travel or war. His translation of the titanium scroll's glyphs suggests it's neither gate nor weapon, but a siren, a beacon designed to broadcast across dimensions. The scroll's unfurled star pattern, he argues, isn't a targeting system but a musical staff, its glyphs representing notes in a scale no human ear can hear. Al-Mansouri's team has identified matching frequency patterns in the Sahara hum, the dogon singing metal, and even the static that drowned Dr. Patel's radio. If he's right, the engine isn't just waking up, it's calling home, and judging by the way the UN team's shadows moved in that chamber, liquid, hungry, reaching something might already be listening. The sand itself holds secrets too small for the naked eye, yet too impossible to ignore. Under electron microscopes, samples taken from the anomaly site reveal something that defies every natural law. Mixed with ordinary silica grains are metallic spheres, each no larger than a blood cell, their surfaces too smooth, too perfect. At first glance, they appear inert. But then the footage rolls, time-lapsed over hours. The particles move, not randomly like dust in a breeze, but deliberately, aligning into hexagons, spirals, and lattices that mirror the structure buried miles beneath them. It gets worse. When exposed to heat or electrical current, the spheres demonstrate chilling behavior. They split, not through random fracture, but along precise seams, each new generation identical to the last. Lab technicians watched in horror as a single particle, isolated in a sterile dish, replicated itself 42 times in 72 hours. No biological agent behaves this way. No known metallurgical process explains it. These aren't just fragments, they're machines. The geometric patterns they form aren't arbitrary. High-resolution scans show the arrangements matching, down to the nanometer, the glyphs on Dr. Velez's slab and the titanium scroll. One configuration in particular appears again and again, a 7-pointed star with a central void. The same symbol appears in Dogon cave paintings, Sumerian cylinder seals, and now, horrifyingly, self-assembled in a petri dish under laboratory lights. Yet the most unsettling discovery came from a contaminated sample. A researcher accidentally spilled saline solution onto a slide, expecting corrosion. Instead, the particles absorbed the liquid, swelling before ejecting black tendrils that etched new glyphs into the glass. The symbols, a near-perfect match to those found in the UN team's last transmitted image from the underground chamber. What does it mean? These aren't inert remnants. They're active, communicative pieces of a larger system lying dormant in every grain of desert sand. The implications are staggering. If the engine beneath the Sahara is the heart, these particles are its blood, circulating, adapting, waiting. And if they can replicate from a single fragment, how much of the Sahara has already been transformed? Whistleblower accounts often sound like science fiction until the details start lining up. Take Dr. Nathan Cole, a former DARPA researcher who broke his non-disclosure agreement in 2019. His testimony, pieced together from encrypted interviews, describes an experiment codenamed Project Echo Chamber. The goal, to manipulate the Sahara anomaly's hum by bombarding it with precisely tuned frequencies. Cole's team erected massive sonic arrays around the Eye of Africa, designed to mimic the titanium scroll's resonance patterns. What happened next defies physics. On day 4 of testing, at exactly 9:47 a.m. local time, every clock within a 3-mile radius, digital, analog, even atomic, lost exactly 12 minutes and 33 seconds. Not just stopped, vanished. Footage from the control trailer shows researchers moving at normal speed while exterior cameras capture the desert frozen in stillness, sand particles hanging mid-air like suspended rain. Then there's Lieutenant Commander Mara Reyes, a now-discharged naval engineer who worked on harmonic dampening systems. In her leaked deposition, she details how the team's quantum clocks registered a localized time dilation effect, a pocket where seconds stretched into minutes. One moment haunted her, watching a drone's live feed as it crossed the test perimeter. the machine's shadow fractured into 7 distinct versions, each lagging behind the next like frames in a stacked film reel. When analysts enhanced the footage, they spotted something worse. In the microseconds before the drone's signal failed, its camera captured the dunes below, reflecting 2 different sun positions, dawn and high noon simultaneously. Ray's final report, stamped "Eyes Only," contained a single underlined sentence: "We didn't distort time, we folded it." But the most damning evidence comes from an anonymous technician's field notes left in a motel safe deposit box. Scribbled in the margins of frequency calibration charts are descriptions of the voices, not through radios, but seemingly emitted from the air itself whenever the harmonic tests peak. The entries grow increasingly fragmented, static, forming words, not English, not any language, sounds like equations. Crew members started bleeding from ears at 700 Hz. The final page holds a hand-drawn spectrogram of the last recorded vibration. Superimposed over the waveform is a message that wasn't spoken aloud, but somehow imprinted directly onto the paper: "You opened the door." What chills veteran researchers isn't just the temporal anomalies, it's the consistency. 3 separate whistleblowers, none aware of each other's accounts, all describing identical phenomena: fractured time, bleeding air, and that phrase about a door. Even the numbers match. 12 minutes 33 seconds appears in Cole's clock data, Ray's quantum readouts, and the technician's spectrogram timestamps. This isn't coincidental glitching. It's a pattern, one that suggests the engine doesn't just respond to frequencies, it teaches them. Every test seems to unlock another layer of its functionality, like turning pages in a manual written in gravity itself. The implications ripple outward. If localized time distortion is a side effect of resonance testing, what happens at full activation? Ancient texts warn of the day the sun stands still, but modern physics paints a grimmer picture. Theoretical models suggest sustained temporal fracturing could create causal loops, events feeding back into their own beginnings with no exit. The Sahara's hum might not just be a sound. It could be a countdown, each harmonic pulse bringing us closer to the moment the engine decides time itself is raw material to be reshaped. And judging by the whispers in that static, we're not the ones holding the tools. In the heart of the Sahara, stones sing, and their music defies every law of nature. Take the case of the Tassili Ennaja Plateau, where hikers first reported hearing ghostly choirs echoing from the rocks at dawn. At first dismissed as desert mirages playing tricks on the ears, the phenomenon took a chilling turn when geologists discovered something impossible. When certain basalt formations heat up under the midday sun, they don't just expand, they emit precise radio frequencies, broadcasting tones so mathematically perfect they form harmonic scales. Recordings captured by researchers reveal something even stranger. These aren't random vibrations. Played back at half speed, the tones resolve into what sounds like language, phonemes arranged in repetitive patterns eerily reminiscent of the glyphs on Dr. Velez's slab. One sample, analyzed by MIT's acoustics lab, contained a 7-note sequence repeating every 11 minutes with atomic clock precision. The same sequence appears in Dogon rituals, hummed during ceremonies meant to call down the star travelers, but the real horror lies in the stone's memory. When exposed to plasma torches in controlled experiments, the rocks didn't just emit noise, they replayed sounds from their past. A vein of iron-rich basalt in Algeria's Hogga Mountains, when heated to 800 degrees Celsius, broadcast a 3-second loop of metallic grinding, followed by a wet, organic sound that made the research team physically ill. The recording matches to the millisecond the final audio from the UN's doomed 2012 expedition. Now the question isn't just how, it's why. These stones aren't natural recorders. Their crystalline structures show artificial patterning at the nanoscale. Their magnetic domains aligned in fractal spirals identical to the titanium scrolls glyphs. Heat them and they don't just sing, they remember. And if the legends are right, they're not singing for us. they're singing for whatever lies beneath the dunes, calling out in a language older than civilization. Every sunrise, as the desert warms, the chorus grows louder, waiting, counting down. The Great Pyramid has always whispered its mysteries to those who listen. But what if its loudest secret lies not in its towering heights, but in the darkness beneath its foundation? Hidden beneath the limestone and granite, a network of subterranean tunnels stretches deeper than most realize, their paths aligning with mathematical precision toward a point far to the west, the eye of the Sahara. When researchers overlaid satellite maps of the pyramid's underground chambers with seismic scans of the desert anomaly, the correlation was undeniable. The pyramid's lowest chamber, a crude, unfinished space long dismissed as an abandoned construction project, points like an arrow along a straight energy ley line, a path that cuts clean across 600 miles of desert to terminate directly at the coordinates of the humming engine. The geometry is too precise to ignore. The pyramid's descending passage angles downward at exactly 26 degrees, a slope that mirrors the incline of the ley line when accounting for the Earth's curvature. Even more startling, the chamber walls are lined with pockets of unidentifiable metallic ore, identical in spectral signature to fragments recovered from the Sahara site. But the real smoking gun comes from ancient texts. The pyramid texts carved into the walls of 5th Dynasty tombs speak of a path through the underworld, leading to the Iron Mountain where the gods forged time. Modern scholars always assumed this was metaphor. Now, with the Sahara's pulsating engine in the equation, the description takes on a terrifying literal meaning. Energy readings add another layer of proof. Geophysicists monitoring the ley line between the two sites detected periodic surges of low-frequency vibration, pulses that travel faster through the bedrock than should be physically possible, as if the Earth itself were a conduit. During a 2016 experiment, researchers stationed at the pyramid and the eye simultaneously recorded identical waveforms appearing on their seismographs at the exact same moment despite the distance. The only explanation, something beneath both locations is communicating or perhaps resonating in unison. Perhaps the most chilling evidence lies in the pyramid's original name. Before the Greeks dubbed it the Pyramid of Khufu, ancient Egyptians called it Akhit Khufu, Khufu's horizon, but the word Akhit carries a dual meaning. It also translates to portal. If the Great Pyramid isn't just a tomb, but a gateway, a counterpart, or even a control mechanism for the Eldritch engine, then every hieroglyph, every alignment, every buried chamber takes on new and unsettling significance. The sands of Egypt and the Sahara might hide more than just ruins. They could be pieces of a machine we're only beginning to glimpse, a machine someone or something deliberately connected across vast distances. And if the ley line is active again, humming with energy after millennia of silence, what does that mean for the structures built upon it? One thing is certain, the pyramid's builders knew far more than we ever guessed. And they left warnings we're only now learning to read. Plato's tale of Atlantis wasn't just a warning about hubris, it might have been a blueprint, the philosopher's description of a vast island empire beyond the Pillars of Hercules aligns unnervingly with modern discoveries beneath the Sahara. His account speaks of concentric rings of land and water, a city built with a stone that glowed at night, and a power source so potent it fueled their civilization for millennia. What if Atlantis wasn't just a metaphor? What if it was the last caretaker of the Eldritch engine, a civilization tasked with maintaining a machine they barely understood? Imagine bronze-clad technicians descending into vaults of humming metal, their torches reflecting off surfaces no forge could replicate. Plato wrote of Atlanteans harnessing the energy of the earth itself, a phrase that takes on new meaning when compared to the Sahara's pulsating chambers. Their downfall, a cataclysm that sank their island in a single day and night, could mirror the engine's abrupt deactivation, a failsafe triggered by misuse or decay. Even the timeline fits. Plato dated Atlantis' demise to roughly 9,000 years before his era, a period coinciding with the Younger Dryas event, a geological upheaval that reshaped continents. The most compelling evidence lies in the details. Atlantean architecture, as Plato described it, featured towering spires of orichalcum, a mysterious alloy that shone like fire. Modern analysis of metallic fragments from the Sahara site reveals traces of copper, gold, and an unknown third element, a composite that, when subjected to electrical current, emits a faint glow. Then there's the legend of Atlantis' Great Crystal, a power source said to amplify energy. Lidar scans of the engine's central shaft show a hexagonal cavity lined with prismatic deposits, their structure identical to quartz crystals subjected to extreme pressure. Yet the darkest parallel is the warning Plato embedded in his story. Atlantean priests supposedly guarded secrets too terrible for common minds, knowledge that could unmake the world if unleashed. The same motif appears in Tuareg legends of the metal djinn, Babylonian tablets cursing those who awaken the Black Hive, and the Norse prophecy of Mjolnir's return heralding Ragnarok. Every culture that brushed against this technology preserved a caution: some machines shouldn't be touched. If Atlantis truly existed, its fate might not have been punishment but consequence. The engine's reactivation in 1991 sent shockwaves in perfect circles, like a stone dropped in water. Plato's description of waves swallowing the island whole reads like an eyewitness account of a resonance cascade, the very phenomenon Dr. Kostova's models predict at full activation. Perhaps Atlantis didn't fall to the sea. Perhaps it was retrieved, pulled beneath the dunes by the very machine it swore to control. And if the hum growing beneath the Sahara is any indication, history might be preparing to repeat itself. The desert does not give up its dead easily, but sometimes it sends them back. Nomads traversing the dunes near the Eye of Africa have whispered of encounters that defy reason for generations. They speak of robed figures materializing from the heat haze, their movements too rigid, their faces obscured by shadows that cling like oil. These ghost workers, as the locals call them, are often seen kneeling in the sand, their hands pressing against the ground as if listening for something beneath. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, they dissolved not into the wind, but into jagged, glitching fragments like a corrupted film reel skipping frames. One particularly chilling account comes from a Tuareg caravan leader named Idir Ag Moussa. In 2015, his group camped near the anomaly site during a rare winter rainfall. Around midnight, he awoke to the sound of scraping metal. Outside his tent, 3 figures stood in a perfect triangle, their robes unnaturally still despite the howling wind. When Moussa called out, the figures turned in unison except their heads rotated too far, their necks twisting like screws. The air around them crackled with static, and for a split second, Moussa swears he saw the dunes behind them flicker, replaced by a vision of black spires under a violet sky. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, they were gone. The sand where they stood bore no footprints, only a perfect circle of fused silica, still warm to the touch. These aren't isolated incidents. French geologists surveying the area in 1989 documented their own encounter in declassified field notes. Their lead researcher, Dr. Luc Favreau, described watching a team of faceless laborers digging trenches with tools that warped the air around them. Thermal cameras captured their heat signatures pulsing in reverse, cooling when they moved, warming when still. Most disturbing was the audio recording, the voices of Favreau's own team but distorted, their pleas for help overlapping with themselves in a loop that grew louder the closer they approached. The figures vanished when Favreau's GPS malfunctioned, resetting all devices to a date that doesn't exist, 33 December 1940. Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. In 2021, a documentary crew filming near the site accidentally captured one of these apparitions on high-speed camera. Played back frame by frame, The footage shows the robed figure's edges pixelating, its form fracturing into geometric patterns that match the titanium scroll's glyphs. Spectral analysis revealed an embedded frequency in the footage, a 12 Hz tone identical to the Sahara's subterranean hum. Even stranger, the figure's shadow points in two directions at once, as if cast by twin suns. What connects these sightings isn't just their impossibility, it's their consistency. Every witness describes the same jerky movements, the same unnatural stillness, the same glitch-like disappearance. Some researchers theorize these are temporal echoes, fragments of a past, or future excavation team caught in the engine's gravitational distortions. Others suggest something far worse, that the figures aren't human at all, but interfaces, projections from whatever intelligence designed the machine. The nomads have their own explanation, passed down through centuries. They say the ghost workers are caretakers, left behind to maintain the engine until its true masters return. And if the recent sightings are any indication, their vigil may be nearing its end. The dunes are restless, the hum is louder, and the workers are digging faster. In early 2026, the world's governments did something unprecedented. They went silent. Overnight, every major research operation near the Eye of Africa was shut down. Press releases cited environmental concerns, but internal memos tell a darker story. Codenamed Operation Silent Sands, this global withdrawal wasn't voluntary. It was an emergency protocol triggered by something no one could explain. Satellite footage from the week prior shows the final moments of the last UN-backed dig. A team of 40 had just breached a new subsurface chamber when the dunes around them began moving, not shifting with the wind, but crawling inward like liquid toward their equipment. Then the feed cuts to static. When the image returns 12 hours later, the site is gone. Not abandoned, not buried, erased. The sand lies smooth as glass, no trace of tents, vehicles, or drill rigs. Just a perfect circle of blackened grains still glowing faintly on thermal scans. Leaked documents from the Pentagon reveal the true scale of the panic. Seismic monitors registered a pulse emanating from the site that defied classification, not an earthquake, not a detonation, but a waveform that matched nothing in nature. Then came the storms. Meteorologists watched in disbelief as hurricane-force winds materialized over the anomaly, swirling into a perfect spiral before descending like a hammer. News clips from neighboring towns show walls of sand swallowing entire horizons, moving with eerie precision to envelop every excavation site within a 200-mile radius. By dawn, every research camp, every sensor array, every borehole gone. Not a single team member was recovered, just their last transmissions, all ending with the same phrase, whispered in voices that didn't sound entirely human. It's rewriting the rules. The official explanation was a masterclass in misdirection. Governments pointed to unstable ground conditions and equipment malfunctions, but the classified briefings told another story. A joint NATO report, later obtained by investigative journalists, described the event as a cascade failure of physical laws, compasses spun in infinite loops. Gravity sensors recorded brief localized reversals, and then there were the shadows. Survivors from a Mauritanian military outpost 50 miles east described watching their own silhouettes detach from their bodies, stretching toward the horizon as if pulled by some unseen tide. Now the Sahara sits under a quiet siege. Satellites still orbit, drones still patrol, but no one digs, no one drills. The silence protocol isn't just a moratorium, it's a surrender. Whatever sleeps beneath the sand has made its terms clear. Disturb it, and the desert itself becomes an instrument of oblivion. Yet even now, the hum persists. Louder, closer, as if the engine isn't just awake. It's waiting for the next move, and in the dead of night, when the winds die down, nomads swear they can hear something else beneath the hum. Not a machine, not a tremor, but a voice speaking in a language no one alive remembers. They called it the hum sickness, a condition no medical journal could classify, afflicting only those who ventured too close to the anomaly. The symptoms always began the same way, an echo of the Sahara's subsonic pulse trapped inside their skulls, a vibration that no drug could silence, but the true horror emerged in the aftermath. Take the case of Lena Farhad, the sole survivor of the 2012 UN expedition. Though physically unharmed, her hospital records tell a chilling tale. Night after night, she'd wake screaming about the black veins, clawing at her own skin as if trying to peel away something beneath it. MRI scans showed abnormal activity in her amygdala, the fear center of her brain lit up like a strobe light, but the real anomaly was her left parietal lobe. It had rewired itself, forming neural pathways that mirrored the lidar scans of the engine's hexagonal chambers. Then there's the artist Elias Vance, a surveyor on the 1989 French team. Found wandering the dunes 3 days after his team vanished, he carried no water, no equipment, just a sketchbook filled with spiraling blueprints no human eyes had seen. His psychiatrist's notes describe a man trapped in a waking trance, his hands moving in precise, mechanical strokes for hours on end. The sketches grew more elaborate over time, cross-sections of labyrinthine corridors, rotating gears the size of city blocks, and at the center of every page, a grotesque spire that pulsed with its own rhythm when viewed under black light. Vance insisted he wasn't imagining these designs. He heard them. He claimed a whispering calculus that translated directly into his motor cortex. When researchers compared his drawings to classified scans of the underground structure, the match was uncanny. Down to the millimeter, but the most disturbing cases involved those who never even reached the site. In 2020, a Bedouin trader named Tuareg Belkacem was hospitalized in Nouakchott after collapsing at a market stall. Security footage shows him convulsing as his shadow, against all laws of physics, detached from his body and crawled up the wall like black syrup. Neurologists diagnosed him with environmental psychosis, but his family knew better. For weeks before the incident, Tuareg had complained of dreams where the desert spoke to him in the language of broken gears. His final journal entry, scrawled in a mix of Arabic and symbols matching the titanium scroll, reads, "The engine is tuning its instruments. We are the strings. What binds these cases together isn't just trauma, it's transmission." Brain scans of survivors show telltale patterns: hyperactive mirror neurons, abnormal theta waves syncing to the Sahara's 12 Hz hum, and in 3 separate cases, metallic particles embedded in the bloodstream that defy chemical analysis. Some researchers theorize the machine doesn't just affect minds, it reprograms them, turning human consciousness into receivers for signals we weren't meant to decode. The artist keeps drawing, the survivor keeps hearing voices, and the desert, it keeps humming louder each year, as if tuning its frequency to a resonance only the damaged can hear. What if the Sahara's Eldritch engine isn't a relic of some lost civilization, but a glitch in reality itself? Simulation theory proposes our universe might be an intricate digital construct, and the engine's very existence could be the smoking gun. Take its geometry first. Every attempt to model the structure in 3D software ends the same way. Systems crash, screens distort, error logs flood with warnings about non-Euclidean vertex alignment. Programmers describe the phenomenon like trying to render a shape that shouldn't exist: angles intersecting at 79 degrees, corridors folding into themselves like Möbius strips, textures that don't just repeat but evolve under scrutiny. One frustrated CGI artist leaked footage of their attempt, showing the engine's central spire phasing in and out of visibility, its edges pixelating as if struggling to maintain resolution. The kicker: the glitches aren't random. They follow precise fractal patterns identical to corrupted code in quantum computing experiments. Then there's the matter of the engine's interaction with observers, a hallmark of simulated environments. Like a video game optimizing graphics only where players look, The structure's lidar-detected movements correlate eerily with measurement attempts. Scans taken minutes apart show entire chambers shifting position, but only along axes being observed. It's as if the machine, or whatever code governs it, knows when it's being watched. Physicists call this the quantum observer effect on steroids. Footage from the UN's doomed expedition supports this. Shadows in the chamber moved predictably until cameras focused on them, then twisted into impossible shapes the instant they entered frame. The most chilling evidence comes from error logs. During a 2023 experiment, researchers beamed specific frequencies at the anomaly, hoping to trigger resonance. Instead, they intercepted something else, a burst of data embedded in the returning echo. Decoded, it resolved not into sound or image, but raw machine code, lines of binary repeating a single command loop. Render depth equals false. The phrase mirrors quirks in video game engines where distant objects stop loading to conserve processing power. If the Sahara's engine is a rendering artifact, a fragment of base reality bleeding through, its non-Euclidean angles might not be design choices. They could be fail-safes, patches slapped over a system straining to keep the simulation coherent. Ancient texts whisper of this too. The Babylonian Black Hive tablets describe builders who walked through walls and folded space like parchment. Hindu sages wrote of Vimanas phasing between solid and spectral states. Even Plato's Atlantis myth hints at instability, with orichalcum metal that flickered like torchlight despite no flame. If the engine is a glitch, it's an old one, a scar in the code our ancestors misinterpreted as divine. And now, as the hum grows louder, we're left to wonder, is it waking up? Or is the simulation finally noticing us? The idea of the Eldritch engine awakening isn't just frightening, it's existential. Scientists running worst-case simulations describe scenarios so catastrophic they border on biblical. Imagine the machine reaching full activation, its central spire pulsing with energy as it emits a frequency that doesn't just vibrate the earth but unravels it. The first sign would be the sky splitting at the seams, dimensional rifts yawning open like jagged wounds, their edges crackling with arcs of black lightning. These wouldn't be mere portals, but fractures in the fabric of reality itself, bleeding through with forces our physics can't describe. One NASA astrophysicist's model predicts these rifts would expand exponentially, swallowing city after city in a chain reaction, not by destruction but by erasure. Buildings, people, entire landscapes would simply cease to exist, as if snipped out of time by invisible scissors. Then there's the crust destabilization theory. Geological scans show the engine's subterranean chambers aligned with tectonic weak points like a key in a lock. If activated, the machine could emit resonant pulses along these fault lines, not just triggering earthquakes but orchestrating them. Picture the planet's surface convulsing in waves, continents shearing apart like rotten fabric. The Sahara's dunes would liquefy first, swallowing everything in a tidal wave of molten silica. Then the Atlantic rift would rupture, spewing superheated magma plumes high enough to blot out the sun. One leaked Pentagon report, codenamed Operation Shatterplate, estimates a 90% extinction event within weeks, not from the quakes themselves, but from the atmospheric poisoning that follows. The document's most chilling line, the Earth would scream, but there'd be no one left to hear it. But the most insidious possibility is the Great Reset scenario. Historical texts and the titanium scrolls glyphs hint at the engine's true purpose, not destruction but reformatting. Like a cosmic reboot, it could emit a pulse rewriting the laws of physics at a localized level. Matter would lose cohesion, molecules rearranging into alien configurations. Human bodies might melt like wax, only to reform as grotesque hybrids of flesh and machinery, living conduits for whatever intelligence designed the engine. Archaeologists point to the melted settlements of Sodom and Gomorrah, their ruins fused into glass, as potential evidence of an ancient near miss. Modern simulations show the pulse spreading at light speed, leaving behind a world where trees grow metallic leaves, rivers flow uphill, and the air itself hums with the same 12 Hz tone now rising from the Sahara. The irony, the machine might not even be malicious. A sentient stapler doesn't hate the papers it binds, it simply performs its function. If the Eldritch engine is a tool, its activation could be as indifferent as a gardener tilling soil. We're the ants in the dirt mistaking the shovel for a god. Yet one truth remains: every warning, every shattered expedition, every whispered legend agrees on this: some doors aren't meant to be opened. And right now, beneath the baking sands, something is turning the knob from the other side. The question lingers like a whisper in the dark: is the Eldritch engine beneath the Sahara a warning carved in metal and time, or an invitation etched into the very bones of the earth? The evidence fractures along fault lines of interpretation. To the Tuareg tribes, it's a prison, a tomb for something too dangerous to remain awake. Their legends speak of chains woven from starlight and songs meant to lull the machine into eternal slumber. Yet the titanium scrolls glyphs tell another story, hinting at a purpose beyond destruction. Those spiraling equations, those celestial coordinates, they don't describe an end but a beginning. A door, a threshold, consider the patterns hidden in plain sight. The engine's hum syncs with cosmic rhythms, pulsing in time with gamma-ray bursts from a distant neutron star. Its chambers align with ancient observatories from Giza to Machu Picchu, as if it were part of some interstellar network, a relay station humming in the dark. Even the ghost workers, those flickering sentinels, behave less like guards and more like technicians repairing, recalibrating, preparing. For what? But history's blood-stained pages caution against curiosity. Every civilization that brushed against this truth met the same fate. Atlantis drowned, Nazi excavators erased, UN teams swallowed by the sand. The engine tolerates witnesses only until they understand too much. Perhaps it's neither warning nor invitation, but a test one we're failing spectacularly. And the Sahara is just the beginning. Satellite scans reveal similar anomalies beneath the Gobai's shifting sands, the Atacama's salt flats, even the frozen wastes of Antarctica. What sleeps beneath these deserts isn't a single machine, but an archipelago of nightmares, each humming the same dissonant chord. The real horror isn't the engine's purpose, it's the dawning realization that we're not the first to dig. We're just the latest in a long line of fools clutching shovels at the gates of oblivion. As the screen flickers, static chewing at the edges of a satellite feed, the hum warbles, distorts, then fractures into something almost like speech. The dunes blur, the sky bleeds, and for one fleeting moment the eye of Africa winks, silence, then low, oscillating hum crescendos before collapsing into white noise. Satellite image pixelates, dissolves to